All right, so today we're talking about making a greater impact through your business. And I am excited to be able to just have this roundtable discussion with three very exciting entrepreneurs who have, I love their impact story that we're going to dig into today. So as you kind of listen in on the discussion and you're kind of a fly on the wall, this is an important discussion about legacy. And for some people, making an impact through your business has to do with leaving a legacy, and maybe for you it might have to do with part of your exit planning, or maybe for you it talks about just your personal fulfillment. So we're going to dig right into that, and we're going to talk about what first motivated each of our entrepreneurs today on starting their businesses. We're going to dive into what does impact mean to each of our entrepreneurs today, and when did they decide to make an impact through their business, and how can you make an impact through your business? How do you measure that, and how do you get that started, or even how do you come up with what kind of an impact is most meaningful to you? So we're going to talk about that topic and more. So I want to introduce my three exciting entrepreneurs today. Dai Smith is joining us. She is a professional organizing consultant. So say hello, Dai.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me in.
Absolutely. So Dai is speaker. She's a speaker consultant, and she's also the CEO of simplicitybydai.com. She's the owner of the company where she helps entrepreneurs, professionals, and parents alike. So she's a certified professional organizer with American International Organizing Professionals, and she has her undergrad and grad business degrees, and is a design school graduate. Now, Dai is from Houston, and she lives with her husband and two kids. How old are your kids, Dai?
7 and 3. So I totally get the lifestyle. Yeah. Busy life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that age. I love that age. My next entrepreneur, say hello, Matt Bird.
Hello.
Matt is president of ESG News. He's a board member at Humanity 2.0, Vatican-Inspired Impact Initiatives, proud supporter of UN SDGs. Matthew was ranked third in the world, in the world's top 10 most influential media and communication executives. So kudos for impact, by the way. And he's delivered some of the most successful activations in the UN history. Amongst other initiatives, Mr. Bird supported the Sustainable Stock Exchange initiatives and dozens of heads of state in the UN. So he has delivered flawless brand integration and execution for the UN's UNCTAD. And he's also the owner of compro.com, if you'd like to connect with Matthew Bird. So welcome, Matt.
It's good to be here.
And my third guest today is Susan Ritter. She is a global entrepreneur. She's a world traveler and generational wealth creator, teaching women how to invest in their own perfect life. She's the founder of wealthywisewoman.com, and she's based in Tampa Bay, Florida, although she's pretty much all over the world. So welcome, Susan.
Thanks, Yoon. It's good to be here.
So now, just so everybody has a little bit of context on your businesses, I know I just shared your intros, but if you could share concisely in your words, give us your 60-second elevator pitch. What do you do? What does your business do?
Great.
Anybody want to go first?
You want me to start? I can start.
Sure.
So my business, Wealthy Wise Woman, it helps women get past their fear of money to begin with, so that they can start getting it working for them. And the idea is that once you start really understanding how money works and what you can do with it, you can have a real impact in the world. Because we have this idea that somehow money is bad for us and that we have to avoid it. And when we learn that, no, it's a tool, and when we use it as a tool, the impact that we carry, that women love to have, can actually be expanded and made much larger when they understand how to use money to make that impact. So that's what I focus on, is teaching women how to embrace their impact and do it through using the money that they have.
I love that. I love that.
Right.
And that really ties into today's discussion, because having your own business has got to be more than just, hey, I just started a business so I can make a ton of money, right? So it's got to be more than the money. There's got to be some meaning and mission behind that. So I love how you tie that into what you're doing. Matt, tell us what your company does.
Well, so Compro Worldwide is a strategic communication agency. We're a purpose-driven PR communication agency, essentially. We deal with public affairs, public-private partnerships, strategic alliances, really impact initiatives that drive and uplift the kind of multiple stakeholders at a time. I know it's a really kind of complicated word, but it's three-dimensional partnerships that materialize in lots of media and visibility. It's that the impact, triple bottom line type stuff that impact more than just the goals of the business. But my real passion is sustainability, and recently in January we launched ESG News. It's been in the making for quite some time. It's a kind of derivative of the sum of all parts of my world and partnerships. And ESG News is a sustainable business news network, an agency, and we're trying to educate people on sustainability and ESG. And ESG is really important. It is the implementation mechanism for the UN SDGs, and it's a corporate governance mechanism that allows companies to be able to figure out how to measure their impact and how to report that. It's the same mechanism that we as people will be using in the future to measure whether we think a company or a brand is a brand that we want to be a part of, or we want to buy or consume or what have you. I don't know if that's the best description of it, but I'll stick to that. I don't want to go on too long, and I want to get back to the comment on with some of the stuff that you're doing as far as teaching women how to use money for impact. I think it's fantastic. And I love to get into the definition of impact at some point, but that's it. I guess that's it for now.
All right. There's a lot there that you're involved in. So hopefully as we discuss, further in the conversation, we can tease out to help the audience be able to see what, two divides that you have there. Dai, how would you like to share exactly from your words, what
Yes.
do you do?
Thank you. My mission is to help the entrepreneurs, specifically mompreneurs, and also parents and busy professionals, live and be their full potential. And I find that is easily accomplished when you are focusing on organizing and productivity systems. And so I help entrepreneurs and professionals be more present, be more productive, and more profitable in their businesses through organizing solutions, helping them to streamline their initiatives, their efforts, their systems, so that they can in the future automate, delegate, and grow and scale their businesses. I started off in corporate America and having a family and working. I decided to launch a business, and I soon realized as a home organizer that because of this world that we're in, there were so many resources that I could use and I should be using, but I wasn't really sure how to make it work for my business. And so I was able to learn those tools. And then when I would meet other entrepreneurs, I found that they struggle with managing the digital assets and understanding the systems and using technology to their advantage. And so I pivoted to be able to help more entrepreneurs really navigate the technology and the digital world so that they can use those to their advantage to grow their business and be more present, productive, and profitable. And so I help nonprofit and for-profit businesses do that. And I see the transformation that comes when you ask for help and you really open up your world to someone who can help you with those things. And I've seen people really grow and thrive. And so I'm happy to do that for
I love that.
people that, yeah.
Day, one of the things you said that really resonates is helping mompreneurs be present, productive, and profitable. And
Yes.
I mean, that's a big pain point. It's been a universal pain point for working parents alike, moms and working dads. So that's an impact statement right there. So take us back to the beginning. If you can each share, what year did you first start your business, and when you did, what was the initial motivating factor? And then we can talk about impact after that. So, Day, what year did you start?
I started my business in 2019,
Mhm.
the fall of 2019. I had just had a shift in my corporate job, meaning I was realigned. I
Right.
had to make some decisions. And I had always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I'd even started slowly getting my certifications and, doing some jobs on the side. But when that happened, it was kind of like I was pushed into
Mhm.
walking into my destiny. And I felt like it was time. My kids were little, life was crazy, but I felt like this was the time for me to step out and do something that I'd always wanted to do. And I garnered a lot of support. So that really helped me to carry it. The support that I got from my family and the network.
What would you say was, if you could put it in a couple of words, what would you say if you think back early 2019?
Yeah.
What was it that motivated you? Hey, I'm going to go start a business.
I remember getting the words in my head that I'm going to give myself permission to follow my dreams. I
Okay.
don't think I ever gave myself permission. I thought I needed to do this, and that. And so I said, I'm going to give myself permission to do this. And once my mindset changed, that was the end of that. I was off, running from there.
Well, I
So
love that you didn't let that it was not a great time, for you with little kids and, all sorts of stories we can give ourselves. I love that you didn't let that stop you. So that was 2019. Susan, how about yourself? What's your entrepreneur story? What year did you start your first business, and what initially motivated you? Hey, I'm going to go start a business.
So actually, like Day, I was doing corporate. I was in corporate America for my whole career. I retired in 2018. I had a goal in those days when I had my son in 2005. I had a goal of retiring in 10 years to travel the world because I wanted us to become global citizens. And so in 2018, we went to Malaysia and we were living there. And I was out on the internet and I ran across a program called Money Revealed. And there was a fellow, Roger James Hamilton, was being interviewed. And Roger is a futurist and he is an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, actually. And he had started a business teaching people how to be entrepreneurs. And I absolutely fell in love with everything he had to say. And I thought, I have to be connected to this man and his community because, like, this is a vision of the future that I want to believe in. And a lot of what he talked about was impact. Their program, their whole company was geared around the UN sustainability goals. It was one of the first things you had to establish when you joined them as a community, to go through those goals and understand what they meant and decide which one you were going to align your business and yourself with to work with them in their community. So I just fell in love with all of it. I had no intention of starting a business. My intention in those days was to travel the world and enjoy new cultures and bring up my son and play. I'd already done my work for 30 years. It was time to play. But
Nice. Well, I
I
love
was so
that.
intrigued. I followed up. I ended up in,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to comment, Susan. I love how for you,
Yeah.
you just were inspired. It sounds like just from
Yeah.
like a person, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
That's
was
right.
listening to the
That's
person
right.
that you went to go to his event that inspired and
Right.
birthed this new dream for
Right.
this chapter in your life
Right.
that you never initially
That's
even
right.
thought about it. I love that.
That's right.
I love that.
Exactly.
And that you immediately resonated with making an impact.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. What year did you start your first business, and what motivated you then?
So I started off in advertising, and I had a really successful career very, very early on in my life. I was really fortunate to be surrounded by some great mentors, and got lucky with some great clients, and really it kind of catapulted my career very early on. And I was fortunate to kind of be working on some new media, and we're talking about the 2000, like right around 2000, 1990, 98, 99, 2000, just at the end of that dot-com bubble. But we were working at that time, in contextual advertising media, and we were at the edge of innovation. And it was a very exciting place to be. And I saw an opportunity to kind of branch out from the advertising into the data side, into the ad network side and stuff. And thought that was the future. And so took a leap, jumped out of my career at the time, which was going like this. And thought I could do it, and we did. And we did it again and again, and started up a couple networks and publisher networks, and over time got really good at building. And naturally, like any entrepreneur, you go through those stages of innovation of, okay, what's next, and how do you expand and grow. And I think arriving at impact, and being an impact entrepreneur, if you will, that's the key word here. It's just an evolution of capability at the end of the day. I think the SDGs really gave impact an identity. We've all been talking about climate for a really long time. We've been talking about, you've got Earth Day, and you've got all the climate initiatives, and we got global warming. But the SDGs really gave it a face, and they did a fantastic job with the branding, the 17 goals. I was fortunate enough that I was in a position to help when the SDGs launched, and I was called on to come in and help with the launch, and made some big pledges, and have been able to see the kind of the inception to where we're at now. And it's been a fantastic ride. But a tremendous amount of work has gone into just establishing the baseline principles. And, for me, the transition from an entrepreneur, anyways, I think the question was, well, how did I start to become an entrepreneur? I don't want to jump ahead.
Yeah, what was your initial reason for starting your first business?
Ambition. It was sheer ambition. I just wanted, to run faster. And I thought I could do more, and I thought I was capable. If you want a sports analogy, I wanted the ball. The ball.
Yeah.
I wanted the chance to just kind of take the, just to run. And that's what really kind of drove me.
Wow, I love that. I love that. So you had a successful advertising career, and really for all three of you, you started your entrepreneur journey from the corporate career. And I actually was the opposite. When I finished college, I thought, wow, how much could I possibly make as a recent college grad? And I found an opportunity to start a business in a franchise-like system. And I thought, oh, well, I'll do that. I'll just do that. I think that I can make more money that way for a couple of years and then figure out what I want to do. So for me, I started my first business in 1992. And the initial reason was it just seemed more practical for, I could earn more than how much somebody else was going to hire me for. But it became, as I had to hire a sales team, and I was immersed listening to motivational speakers like, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Les Brown in those days. It just became so apparent to me, especially if I'm going to retain any of the salespeople, it's a relationship business. And then I quickly got tied into wanting to make a difference in changing their lives. That if they're going to be on my sales team, I wanted the opportunity for them to change their trajectory. So for me in the beginning, impact was just the people I was working with on a day-to-day basis. How can I change their lives? And not even so much again for how they're going to do commission and advancement wise, but really who they become in the process of growing and increasing their personal qualities, their success traits. So that was my early definition of impact. What about the three of you, whoever wants to share first? What does impact mean to you, especially making an impact through your business, that this is a part of what you're doing full time? So what does impact mean to you?
I'll start, Yoon.
Mm-hmm.
I alluded to this earlier, but when someone calls me, they are literally at their wits' end. They are up to their eyeballs in task or life, business, and they've tried to. The people that are attracted to me, they are go-getters, they're doers. They've tried to do it themselves, and they find that they can't. Whether time, energy, resources, whatever. And so the impact that I see with them is instant. It is definitely something that I can come in and transform something that they've been wanting to do but haven't been able to do it. And I see them transform, not just their business. I see them feel lighter, them feel more motivated. There's some therapy sessions that happen sometimes.
I bet.
But I see what I'm doing that comes naturally to me and I love doing. It's such a huge challenge for them that the impact is far greater than a lot of times I even anticipate. Like I said, they feel more motivated, more passionate. They don't have to be worried about the things that they hate doing, like the administrative things. They can give that to someone else and it's freeing. They feel more like the CEO again instead of the assistant or the chief of staff, and so that's the impact. And again, working with mompreneurs, you're juggling so many things in addition to running a business that sometimes we even me are afraid to ask for help. You feel like you should do it on your own. You try to make it work on your own. And so they learn to be interdependent, as you talked about earlier. The relationships that we have, they learn to lean on others and ask for help and rise to the occasion to be more of a leader.
I love that. So you're using what comes easy to you to remove the barriers of what your clients are struggling with and helping them be able to live in their zone of genius.
Exactly.
Yes, that's a huge impact because people are miserable if we're not living in our own zone of genius. It's just drudgery. Nobody wants to live in that place on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely.
Matthew, tell me what does impact mean to you in making an impact through your business?
So, so impact is a really interesting word. I'm going to help define this and give it some shape, but I think really impact is taking responsibility for an outcome. And that has nothing to do with resources or money. There's a difference. We interchange impact with philanthropy, and they are two completely different things, right? Philanthropy is the process of giving money, and that's I'm done. A lot of organizations have done philanthropy for a really long time. We're realizing that that's not a really efficient way of accomplishing some of these social issues that we have out in society. It's really about, the impact is about the entrepreneur or the organization going out and saying, okay, I'm not going to throw money at this, but I'm going to put my time into this and my company's resources into solving this problem. And at the end, we're taking accountability for the outcome. And it's a huge leap. And I think, taking the SDGs is a great example, as Susan pointed out. the SDGs are a bit of an identifier for organization to take action for what it believes in. But again, I'm going to try to keep my answer short. I think taking responsibility for outcomes is really what I think impact is about. There's lots of ways to do it. You can
And
do it.
what's one specific change that you're focused on making when you're talking about taking responsibility for the outcomes? What is a specific outcome that you're trying to move the boulder?
Well, okay, so I mean, I sit on a number of boards and all mainly impact organizations. There's a couple ways to look at this. As an agency, we're a facilitator. We help organizations try to find ways to put their resources to work for social good, right? To inspire social change. And there are a couple examples of that could be John Paul DeJoria and Paul Mitchell. It's companies. He's got resources that could be used for a lot of things. It could be used to fund a lot of open-ended initiatives, but he chooses to use his resources to accomplish an end goal. You need to build a park. I will help you build a park. But do you really need $1 million to build that park, or do you need Home Depot to come in to put up the fence around for the park? Or it's just such an open-ended question. So yeah, we essentially enable companies to find the projects that they can actually put their resources to work to accomplish some of these impediments that we have in the world. And there's so many of them. I don't even really kind of know where to start or where to finish. It can be from education based, helping organization that has routers and switches upgrade a hospital or a school using their resources and tools, versus spending more money on some initiative that won't actually provide a tangible outcome at the end of the day, which is kids having access to internet. So if anybody's watching this and you have a business and you have a t-shirt company, you see that there are winters coming up and their kids that don't have clothes. I mean, instead of donating 10% or 5% of your proceeds to a charity, take your product and give it to kids who don't have any clothes. If you're in the heating business and you want to donate something for charity for your PR efforts, why don't you take that money and take an inventory and give the inventory out to people who need heat? Because we are more effective using our resources that we do day to day to affect change and help others than we are giving money towards a system that is ultimately going to buy that end product. So instead of waiting for somebody to come buy your products, your product can go to use your resources, use your extra inventory, your extra time to solve those problems. And as simple as that may sound, giving your stuff away, it's not that easy. You have to coordinate, you have to integrate. There has to be, there's lots of different organizations that play a part on facilitating these sorts of things, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that complicated. Any business can take any extra inventory or any resources or accounting or coaching and go, I'm going to solve this problem for people who have inequality, don't have access to these things that I have, and I can fix this problem. It's really that simple. Accountability.
I love the examples that you just shared, Matthew, and I think that's going to help kind of percolate some ideas for people who are watching this discussion for how they can make a change, a social change, a specific problem with an underserved population, which will segue right to Susan. I mean, you picked an underserved population. So tell me more about the women, the types of women who you're helping as you're social entrepreneurship campaign?
Right. So I am completely with you, Matt. That is actually what we need to be doing. It's not about just giving your money and saying, okay, I've taken care of it for this year. It's about actually, what do you do every day that actually changes somebody's life? And I think you do that as well, Dai. It's about one-to-one relationships. Impact is about the people who you touch throughout your business, throughout your day, with everything that you do. When I work with my clients, they're women that are entrepreneurs. They're mostly successful. They have money and they want to do more, but they're wrapped up in their own business, and their money kind of just sits there and it collects and it languishes and it does nothing. And when they finally think, oh, I should be doing something with this and I don't know what to do, that's when they're ready to have the conversation. And so when we talk about it, they usually come with this idea that I want to, I have all this money now. I want a place to go put it where it's going to do good things. Like, I don't want to go buy oil companies. I want to go buy solar companies. I want to go buy this. I want to go buy that. And we have to go through that conversation of, they want to do something.
You kind of froze there, Susan.
And learn about your investments. Okay, are we good?
Oh, now
Yes,
you came
no?
back. So you're doing
Still
something
not
for
back?
the investments. You're back now.
Okay, good. Right. Okay, good. So, so what you need to do is understand what those different choices are when you go out there into the world to invest. The example I tend to use is that we just want to go throw money at solar projects, except not all solar projects are equal, and not all, everyone today, and this is actually making it very difficult because it's become, in the corporate world, the new thing that everybody wants to be, right? If you can tack ESG to the end of your company's brand, then that's good for your business. Whether you actually are or not is not necessarily the case. And so there is some research that's required in knowing, well, is this really the right decision? And there's all kinds of, everything touches everything. Choosing and just do one thing other than another over another, or something that was done in the past, isn't necessarily going to make the impact that you want to make in the world. And so my encouragement always to learn what it is that you want to invest in and really understand what the pros and cons are, because everything is a trade-off. And it's frustrating, because when you find out what those trade-offs are, you go, oh, this wasn't all that it's made out to be. And that's a struggle. But it's also an eye-opener. And when you start digging into it and understanding the choices that are out there in the world, you become much more knowledgeable about what's actually going on in the world. And so what I love about working with my clients is, very quickly, as we do this investigation through the education, I teach them how to research for investments. It's not about crunching the numbers. It's about learning the stories. What are the stories of what's going on in the world? And then pick the stories that you really believe are making a difference, and that's where you put your money. And to do that, you have to know, who are people doing this? Who are the people behind that business? Why are they just talking, or do they really actually do something for the better good? And when you find the right people to follow, the right people to invest in, then your money can actually, it can move the bar. Because I think for entrepreneurs, we're all making an impact in our business directly with the people that we touch as our clients, our direct clients. But if we want to be bigger than that, then we need a tool that is bigger than just our personal selves and our time. Our time is very finite. Our money is not. Our money can be as large as we want it to be. And so it can reach a lot further out into the world. But it's only making a positive impact when you're putting it in the right places, and learning how to recognize, how to assess what is the place that is where you really want to make the impact is that's really what I teach. In the end, we do very little number crunching, very little about, that the mechanics of investing are simple. It's, you open an account and you put your money in something. The real effort is in what are you going to choose? That's where their impact is.
I love that. So, I mean, so simply put, and yet it clicks, where you're offering for people to go out there and research, look for the stories of issues, challenges, underserved communities, struggling communities who are suffering, and whose stories are really resonating with you, and who do you really want to make a change for. So that's a great first place, is looking for the stories of the change that you want to make. I know, to what you shared earlier, just giving ideas, brainstorming some of the ideas that you shared, Matthew. And I know when I was at the IFA conference for franchises, they had an awards section for social entrepreneurs, and it was so inspiring. Just seeing the person who won it was a simple pizza chain.
Yeah.
A guy who started a pizza chain, and his social entrepreneurship story was again really simple. They would donate pizzas and go volunteer with the local homeless people, where they paired up with another company that provided hot showers, and then they provided the meal. And it was just something that they consistently gave into. They tithed into it for their finances, but also their time, to what you said, Matthew. And I think that's, so after somebody figures out, okay, well, there's so many causes we love. And once they figure out who they want to serve, one of mine that's near and dear to my heart would be a local orphanage. And then there's also an orphanage in Africa that my church organization also sponsors. So I joined them, in that, but I also have helped a local. So that's what speaks to me personally. But to what you're saying, Matthew, it takes a lot of time. Speak to the person who is struggling with, I'm too overwhelmed by this. I'm too overwhelmed by the amount of project management and planning to make an impact that's significant enough. What would you have to share about that, objection?
Okay, I'm making my way here. Okay, so I think if anybody says they don't have time to make an impact, it's just not really, they need to reevaluate their core principles. I think that there are two types of personalities right now, I think, out in the world, or there are three. They're the ones that are being led by people who just truly want to make an impact, and it's just their main priority in life, and it's fantastic. There's we want to see rebaselining of things. We want to see rebaselining of our principles, corporate principles, consumer principles, these sorts of things. Then you have the business owners who have figured business out enough to where they can go, we can make changes internally to actually adjust to be a better organization, like literally across the board. And we just need to identify what those things are. So we might not know what we might not know what we can do better, but if someone can point it out to us, we can make those changes, right? And those organizations are the ones making the big impact. So they're ones that we see out in the media. I think ESG is given that a face. And a lot of this speculation, even you look at Tesla and some of these other organizations, you could be the most environmental company in the world, but if you're socially doing all this other stuff or not managing some of the the other important aspects of running an organization, it kind of offsets each other. And so, and I think there's a little bit of brain damage going on at a high level because they can't quantify that part. And that's really about, that's has to do with management and being who you are as a principal, and do you have it in you to make those changes. So I think we're going through, again, a rebaselining of principles to that point. And on the other side of it, are organizations that are being led by the initiative because they realize that if they don't change, people are going to just stop doing business with them. And that's okay. I think that's okay. I think it is, if you realize that if you don't treat your people right, if you don't provide fair and provide equality and opportunity and all the things that we expect today, you don't produce your products the right way, if you're not thinking environmentally, I mean, if you're really just taking advantage of the system while the system's trying to become more efficient and become better, people are just going to stop doing business with you. And I think that's the greatest social stick in the world, or at least social motivator in the world, because it's sometimes it doesn't matter how people get there, as long as they get there, and as long as the change is permanent. And there will always be organizations out there that choose that they're going to resist it because there's opportunity. But I think Dai, right? Listening to the things that you're doing, Dai and Susan, I think, I think that this really gets down to the people and what your goals are. If you're really good at what you do, you should be looking at how you could do a little bit better. And because you can afford it, you can afford the time. If you're just starting a business off, then maybe you should look at the different aspects of how that business should be operated, which I think is happening today. I think a lot of stuff is, I mean, this isn't the first impact conversation that's taking place in the world. It's happened a whole lot of places. And I mean, I hope we're providing some light on the subject. But anyways,
Well, I think you put it really simply earlier on, Matthew, when you said there's just two types of people, right? There's just two types of personalities. And I translate that as, yeah, those two types are givers or takers, right? Would you agree, or did you have a different naming convention for that?
I think it's a little more dynamic than that. I think change is really difficult for anybody. So when you look at the pushback on ESG, for example, like the fundamental reporting aspects of ESG, I don't think it's individuals pushing back because they're good or bad. I think it's that the change is giving everybody anxiety and it's shaking things up to the point where they don't know how to manage it and they're afraid.
They need Dai.
It comes from.
They need Dai to come in and fix their productivity processes, right?
What happens if we change this? What happens if we go from here to here? Like, I don't understand that, and people resist change, and this rebaselining requires, I think, more than just corporate influence, but consumer influence. Consumers really need to step up and say, "Hey, listen, we're not going to buy your product anymore. We just don't like your practices." So you have, and so the people out there need to practice a little bit what they preach, and it's very, very difficult. Like I saw an episode of Shark Tank the other day. I think it was Shark Tank. I can't remember what it was, and I caught it. And it was a sustainability episode, and they were talking about how sustainable clothes and everything else. I think polyester is the most sustainable thing, but who's going to wear polyester?
Oh,
And so there are some changes that some places we're willing to go this far here and this far there. But I think that those these conversations are fantastic.
Well,
anyway.
I like what you brought up because that is a valid issue, right? It may not just be whether you're the personality of giver or taker, as I put it, but it really is about change management, and and of course then there's the tactical stuff of dealing with the overwhelm of how do you implement a big social change movement through your business, because it's a big thing. And I'm sure Day has a lot to contribute, right, on that part. To me, it feels like it's got to start with, if you're in the C-suite, you're the founder, it's got to start at the top with how important is it to you. And for me, I had a big shift one day, not to sound gloomy, but it happened at a funeral. I had a couple of weeks where I went to several funerals, and one funeral, glowing, just remarks about who that person was, the character, and how she changed their lives for the better. And then another funeral, oh my gosh, it read like a resume. And I just thought, boy, I feel like I'm sitting in a job interview, or listening to the guys. It truly just sounded like a resume. And I remember thinking, you know what? It really doesn't matter if he grew his business from X to Y, or it's been a 40-year family business. It doesn't really matter if he got, in the headline news for this, and that. And for me, what made a change for me was, that's not what I want my funeral to sound like. I don't want people to care, what I accomplished in metrics wise. And that can be I think a difficult thing to challenge, especially for founders who are trying to stay focused on being a high growth as far as growing the company. But that mission had to change in my heart, as that's not what I want people to remember me for. So what is it, to what Susan said? What are the initiatives that are important? What are the changes, especially changes where they can't pay you back? That really wouldn't be much of a giving story if you gave to some, nonprofit that could impact you right back. So any other thoughts in continuing, the conversation from, it's got to start with is it really important to you of making a difference, and kind of
Just
like the standard, leave the world better than you found it.
Just to make a comment on what Matt had said, I think it's not takers and givers and takers, it's leaders and followers. Some people are just more comfortable stepping into that change and being the leader in it. We see it already. We see it. I work with a group that are heavily into the metaverse and doing things there. And we see big name companies stepping into that space and others not. And there's some amazing work going on in that space that is going to lead to sustainability being easier to accomplish. Just ways of doing things that don't involve waste. One of the biggest, Buckminster Fuller, his big thing was the inequities in the world are because of distribution, a problem with distribution. But I have always felt that our biggest problem is waste. We are not efficient enough, and so we waste more than what we utilize. We go dig a great big hole in the ground and then use a fraction of that to go and build computers with. But there's still a great big hole in the ground. And I worked in nuclear, and we generate from uranium, but we only can use a third of the power that comes off the uranium. And then all of a sudden we're pulling that thing out because it's not generating enough electricity to support the grid, but we still have like 2/3 of that uranium is going to continue burning off for the next thousands of years. So now we got to do something with that instead of effectively using up all of that energy with the technology that brings it down to nothing, and it's been turned into something. So we don't need to go mine more of that. We just use what we already have more effectively. So every business has to look at what they do and say, where are the inefficiencies in how I utilize the materials? Because the planet's abundant. Everything is abundant, but it's not abundant if you waste 2/3 of it. If you waste 2/3 of it, then it feels like we're always running out, and there's no reason to be that way. You just need to think about where's the waste, and it's not just, yeah, that's really what it is. And so there's the ones that step into that and they go, I see that problem and I'm going to fix it in my company. I see where the waste is in my business. I see what needs to be done. I may not have the technology today, but that's where I'm going to put my efforts, is in building technology that allows that efficiency. In the past, we did it for the sake of better profits, but we need to do it. And that's fine, but it puts the cart before the horse. When you do it for the good of the situation, the good of the environment, the good of the people, of the business, the money just follows. You don't have to think about the money. I think that's been the mistake with businesses throughout time, is that we focus on the bottom line instead of focusing on what is the best way to do stuff. And when we do that, the bottom line takes care of itself. You never have to think about the bottom line, it just happens. And I think small businesses recognize it better than corporate businesses do. Small businesses recognize if you give really good value, then customers just show up. If you do a bad, shoddy job, then somebody else does better and they go there instead.
This is such a huge topic, and to what you mentioned earlier too, Matthew, it is such an open-ended topic that we can go through so many rabbit holes down within it. So in wrapping up, there's a lot that we discussed. If you had to share, what is the impact that you are working to make through your business? If you had to whittle it down to one sentence, and it might not represent you entirely, but at least maybe a piece of you, what would be one sentence that you would want people to remember your work and your business, that this was something you wanted to make an impact on? So a specific problem you wanted to change, a social change, or a local change. It could be worldwide, it could be local. So anybody want to start first? It's one sentence. And then I'm going to cut you.
I'll start. And I said this at the beginning, but I've whittled it down to clearing the clutter so people can be and live their full potential. And I say that because I believe that if you remove that, that opens the door to new possibilities. It frees people's mind to think about the innovative, the big ideas, the social justice changes that can be made once they have a clear mind.
Awesome. Awesome. Susan, Matthew, one sentence, just one.
So I like to empower women to be able to step into everything that they can do. And that's why I educate them in the one area that they really are uncomfortable with, because they come to most of their life with wanting to make an impact on their family, their community, the world. And this empowers them to do all of that. And that's why I love what I do.
I love it. Thank you. Matthew, you got a sentence to represent the impact that you are working towards making through your business?
I think if people looked at my life and said, that guy did some really good work, I think I'd be okay with that. And that's simple. I think inside that, that's it.
I love that. Any final pieces of advice in another one sentence as we wrap up? This is what we'll close with. What's your message to other entrepreneurs, other founders, on making a greater impact through their companies?
I'll go first. If there is an entrepreneur out there that wants to know how to make an impact, look within your organization and your resources on what your organization can do. As an entrepreneur, you have a business. It's not you're not an individual.
Right.
You're representing a service, or you're representing a capability or a thing or products. take a look at what you're doing day to day that can actually augment somebody else or something else out there. And that could be an organization, it could be individuals, it could be virtually anything. But you know its impact when you can actually write it down as a box checked and it's accomplished. So I would say, look at what boxes you can check that do not require, that you're not looking at for something in return, only simply that you can accomplish something.
I love that. Love that. Doesn't have to be, it shouldn't actually. It'd be better if it wasn't. That would be the greater impact story.
Yeah.
Dai, any quick final words of what you would encourage other entrepreneurs on making an impact through their business?
Yeah, I would say that I love the words. I think it was Zig Ziglar. If you focus on doing for others, you'll get that in return. Focus on doing for others and you'll always get what you want in return, helping them get what they get. So I would say have a servant entrepreneurial mindset, serving others. You're in the business to serve others. However that looks, big or small, volunteering your time, giving money, giving resources, having that mindset will carry you and help you be all that you can be and more.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, that's good. I think you have to start from yourself always. And what is it that you really want to give? What is it? What's your passion? What is it that you want to change in the world? Because we're all geniuses. When we find where our superpower is and we give that back to the world, that's when we're making impact. And so just find that in yourself.
I love that. This has been a non-traditional conversation, as in my platform. You know, a lot of our conversations are around how do you drive sales, you know, marketing, how do you hire, all the mechanics. And I feel like this is such an important topic because it addresses the heart and really thinking about who you are and the meaning behind what you want your life and your life work to represent. So whether impact is, you know, what kind of change do you want to make in this world? What's the specific social problem that you want to help be a part of solving and not allowing it to continue to be a problem? My final message really just would be, I can understand why it would be overwhelming, especially because a lot of these social problems are hugely overwhelming. But if you could just take baby steps each day and start with a budget of how much time can you budget each week, and what percentage through your business can you tithe to this particular mission. So this was a really, really thought-provoking conversation. I really hope it helps to encourage other founders to utilize their time and talents to be able to make a change together. So thank you so much, but all of you. And I'll drop your website links in the comment section below for anybody who wants to reach out to each of you to learn more. And thank you again. So for our viewers, if you would have a question about social entrepreneurship, a question about sustainability, a question about how you can make an impact through your business, please drop them in the comments below. If you have tips you would like to share on this topic, please share that in the comments below. We really want to have an engaging discussion. So I look forward to reading all of everybody's conversations. So thanks again for joining us today. That's it for now, and be sure to subscribe to get the next discussion point. All right, thanks everybody.
Thanks, you.